I don't remember what I was thinking when the printer spat my name out. Probably something small. The broken coffee machine, the half-finished spreadsheet, the way my chair squeaks when I lean back. It was a Thursday, which in our office means nothing except the email about leftover bagels in the kitchen. I hit print on my expense report, walked down the hallway, listening to the old laser printer chew through paper. I was scrolling my phone, answering a Slack message from my manager about a client call next week. The tray was already open. 2 extra pages lay there, face down. I almost set them aside without looking. People forget their print jobs all the time. We usually toss the strays on top of the cabinet and pretend not to read them. But the letterhead caught my eye. The blue logo in the corner, internal use only. The subject line in bold, Workforce Reduction Planning, Phase 1, Draft. My heart gave a small, stupid kick. I knew I shouldn't be reading. HR trainings are very clear about confidential internal materials. My eyes went down the page anyway. It was short. Talk of aligning resources with strategic objectives, maximizing efficiency, mitigating redundancy, the usual corporate anesthesia. Halfway down the second page, a bulleted list. Initial discretionary reduction candidates, not final. Names, departments, titles. Then I saw it. Miller, Daniel, Client Services Analyst, full-time. I read it once, then again. The letters didn't change. That was my name, my exact title, no ambiguity. My first thought wasn't anger. It was, of course they were getting rid of me. Of course I would be on some list before anyone told me. My knees went watery. The printer hummed behind me, oblivious. The hallway was empty, only distant kitchen noise. No one rushing up to snatch the pages away. I'd spent 2 years trying to get this job. 2 years of sending resumes into black holes, refreshing email until my vision blurred, taking gig work to keep rent barely paid. When this offer came, it felt like someone had finally thrown me a rope. I told myself I wouldn't mess it up. I'd outwork the anxiety, keep my head down, make myself indispensable. Apparently that didn't work. At my desk, my monitor glowed with an unfinished report. Slack still showed my manager's message. Can you pull preliminary numbers by EOD? Nothing fancy, just directional. Thanks. The time in the corner said 9:17 a.m. I had been at work for less than an hour. I already felt like it had been days. I pulled the memo out again, smoothing it flat. I'd taken it with me to my desk. In the footer, prepared 09-06, draft confidential. Today was 0906. This wasn't an artifact from some past crisis. Under the list of names, note, draft list only, no final decisions have been made, subject to leadership approval. My manager's name was further down, same bullet format, same casual cruelty. I couldn't go to him and say, hey, did you know you're on this list? If he didn't know, I'd be the one who told him. If he did know and I wasn't supposed to, I'd be outing myself as someone who read confidential documents. HR had drilled it into us. If you encounter confidential material not intended for you, do not read further. Notify the sender or HR and destroy the copy. I was 2 pages and 1 existential crisis past do not read further. I flipped the paper face down as if that reset something. My heart thudded loud enough to feel in my teeth. Across the aisle, Jenna laughed at something on her screen. Someone rolled their chair back with a squeak. Phones rang. A balloon bobbed over a cubicle wall nearby. Nothing in the office matched what was happening in my body. I opened my browser, typed how to know if you're being laid off, and deleted it instantly. I typed job market September and deleted that too. The cursor blinked patiently. You'd think panic would make you move. For a long time, it didn't. I sat very still, staring at my inbox like an email titled transition notice might just appear. I thought about rent, the credit card balance I finally started chipping away at. My mom texting me last week, proud of you, feels like things are finally settling down, huh? I thought about those 2 years before this, the we went with the other candidate, the polite ghosting, all of it. I thought, I can't go back to that. I don't have another 2 years in me. Around 10:30, I forced myself to do something concrete. I walked back to the printer. Maybe the memo would be gone. Maybe someone would be standing there, embarrassed, saying they'd printed something by mistake. The hallway was empty. Same stray training manual and meeting agenda on the cabinet. No one came rushing up. No whispers. Just a little whir as the machine went to sleep. I tapped the display, pulled up print jobs. The last entry was my expense report. Before that, nothing. The log only held a handful. Whatever had produced my pages had already rolled off, or never appeared there at all. Back at my desk, I read the memo again anyway. Paragraph 2 snagged my eyes. As part of a responsible long-term planning effort, leadership has periodically discussed potential downsizing scenarios. At this time, no reduction has been approved, and these materials are exploratory only. Exploratory. My mind tried to turn that into mercy. They had to model something. They needed sample names. They picked mine to fill a column. It didn't mean they'd follow through. Another voice said, "Come on, they picked you for a reason." The whole day blurred after that. Emails, 2 meetings where my own voice sounded foreign. I nodded, jotted notes, contributed nothing. Every quiet second snapped back to the same question. When? When would they call me into a small room? When would they schedule a quick sync? When would someone from HR ask if I had a few minutes? By 2 p.m., I couldn't pretend I was functioning. I opened the file drawer, slid the memo under a stack of old invoices, and shut it carefully. My hands shook. I told myself, you need information, not rumors, facts. HR. Immediately, though, I thought, if you ask, you'll mark yourself as paranoid, difficult. They'll move you from maybe to definitely. I stared at my reflection in my darkened monitor. I looked normal, maybe a little pale. No one looking at me would guess there was a countdown clock ticking in my head. I opened the company directory and scrolled through people ops. I skipped the local HR rep, too close to my manager, and stopped on a name I remembered from onboarding. Karen Liu, Director, People Operations. High enough that if she knew something, it would be real. I typed, "Hi Karen, do you have 10 minutes today or tomorrow for a quick confidential chat? Nothing urgent, just something I'd rather ask directly than speculate about. Daniel, Client Services." Her reply came 8 minutes later. "Hi Daniel, I can do 4 p.m. your time today, sending a Zoom invite now." From 3:30 to 3:59, I did nothing but watch that little block on my calendar inch closer. At 4 p.m., I clicked the link. Her video popped up, small office, certificates on the wall, headset. She smiled, professional, warm. "Hi, Daniel," she said. "Nice to see you again. What's on your mind?" "Thanks for making time," I said. My voice sounded thin. "I'll keep it brief. I wanted to ask directly if there are plans for downsizing in my department or just generally. I don't need details. I'd just rather hear from you than guess." Her smile flattened into something neutral, not unfriendly, but careful. "That's a fair question," she said. "The short answer is no. There's no approved downsizing plan right now. We're not in an active reduction process." Relief should have hit. Instead, it slid off. "Okay," I said. "It's just that I came across something that made me wonder." "What kind of something?" she asked. Silence stretched. Saying, "I read a confidential memo I found on the printer," suddenly sounded as bad as it was. "I'd rather not get anyone in trouble," I said. "I saw a document that mentioned potential reductions. It had some names, including mine." She studied my face for a beat. "I can't comment on documents I haven't seen," she said, "but I can tell you this. Leadership has discussed possible scenarios in the abstract. That's standard. We model different situations, including downsizing, in case of economic shifts. At this time, there is no list being actioned. No one in your department is under review for termination, to my knowledge. The only departures we've had this quarter were voluntary resignations." Voluntary, I repeated. Yes, she said. 2 people chose to leave. We're actually hiring in several teams. So, there's no plan at all? I asked. There is no reduction currently being executed, she said. We don't have a scheduled layoff. If that changes, it would be communicated transparently and appropriately. Currently executed, those qualifiers echoed. I appreciate the clarity, I said. Really, thank you. After we hung up, the Zoom window dissolved to my desktop. She'd been calm, factual. She'd given me exactly what I asked for. But she also confirmed that they did scenario planning, that they did talk through the names in a room that I never see. If I were on a list, would she tell me weeks in advance? Or would she say exactly what she just said right up until the email dropped and I was escorted out of the office? By Friday, my work was visibly slipping. I reread emails 3 times and still sent them with mistakes. I forgot attachments, zoned out in meetings until someone said, "Daniel," and I jerked like I'd been shaken awake. My manager pinged twice. "You okay? You seemed a bit off this week." "Just tired," I wrote back. "Didn't sleep great. I'm on it." It wasn't a lie. I wasn't sleeping. I lay awake replaying the phrase "initial discretionary reduction candidates" until the words lost meaning and then got back to it again. On Monday, I woke up with a headache and a solid wall of dread. The idea of sitting there waiting for some hypothetical email felt worse than any conversation I could have. By 11:15, I'd made a decision that felt like stepping off a ledge. I was going over everyone's head. Not HR, not my manager, the VP. His name sat on the org chart like a weather system. Mark Ellison, VP of Client Services. I'd seen him in all hands meetings, never spoken to him. I rode up the elevator to his floor. Carpet was thicker up there. The art on the walls actually had frames. His assistant looked up as I walked over. "Hi," I said. "I'm Daniel Miller from Client Services. I don't have a meeting, but is Mark available for 5 minutes? It's important." She hesitated, picked up the phone, murmured something, listened. "You can go in," she said, "but please keep it brief." Mark's office was bigger than my apartment. He stood as I entered, smiling in the automatic way of someone constantly meeting new faces. "Daniel, right?" he said. "Come on in, have a seat. What's up?" I sat on the edge of the chair. "I'm sorry to barge in," I said. "I know you're busy. I need to ask you something directly, and if I don't, I'm going to lose my mind." His face faded to curiosity. "Okay," he said. "Ask." "Am I on a list to be laid off?" I said. Silence. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause. "I'm sorry," he said. "Is there a workforce reduction plan?" I pushed on, because I've been told that there isn't, but I saw something, a document on the printer last week, 2 pages, Workforce Reduction Planning, Phase 1. It had my name. It had my manager's name. It looked official, and I can't just sit there pretending I didn't see it. I need to know if I'm already done here and nobody's told me yet. He stared at me for a few seconds, then let out a breath. "Okay," he said quietly. "Take a breath." I did. It shook. "I can tell you," he said, "that there is no active layoff plan right now. None. Are there models? Yes. Every company our size has scenario plans. We've talked in the abstract about what we'd do if revenue dropped or if we lost a major client. But nothing has been approved. Nothing is in motion." "That's not what this looked like," I said. "It had names. It had my exact title. It was on the letterhead." His brow furrowed. "Where did you see this?" "Third floor printer," I said. "Thursday morning." He turned to his computer, typed fast, clicked through something. His jaw tightened. "We did have a document floating around," he said finally. "Not an authorized one. Someone mocked up a layoff plan as a joke." His mouth twisted on the word. It referenced a few people, real ones, from our company, so it got flagged quickly. We thought we'd collected all of the copies. It sounds like one slipped through. I stared. "A joke?" "One of the analysts who resigned last month left on really bad terms," he said. "We found some unprofessional material on their drive after they left, including a fake reduction memo. Legal's handling it, he exhaled. I'm guessing that's what you saw. My brain tried to rearrange itself around that. So, I managed. You're not being laid off, he said, voice firm. In fact, your name's been coming up in a very different context. We're looking at expanding the team next year. You're on a short list for a senior role. It's not a promise, so don't go buy a sports car yet, but you're not on any chopping block. Quite the opposite. I had no idea what my face was doing, but he gave a small, apologetic smile. I'm sorry you saw that, he said. You shouldn't have had to carry that around. We should have caught it. I nodded, throat too tight for anything articulate. Do you want me to loop your manager in? He asked. Let him know you were worried, or want to keep this between us? Between us is good, I managed. The idea of my manager knowing I'd just panicked my way into the VP's office made my spine prickle. All right, he stood. I followed. Go home on time today, okay? Look like you haven't slept. I haven't, I admitted. He gave me a soft huff of a laugh. Consider this your official permission to stop catastrophizing, he said. Then his tone turned serious again. If anything ever does change, you'll hear it from HR or me directly, not from stray printouts. I managed a small, raw thank you. Back at my desk, I opened my drawer and pulled out the memo. Now that I knew it was fake, the flaws jumped out. A slightly wrong header, a phrase no one in HR would actually use, spacing that was a little off, the kind of thing you only catch when you aren't really convinced it's your death sentence. I folded the pages twice and slid them back in. Not in the trash. Not yet. Just out of sight. In the weeks that followed, my work steadied. My manager pulled me aside once and said, You seemed underwater last week. Everything okay? I had a rough patch, I said. I'm good now. He nodded. You're doing solid work, Daniel. Don't let your brain tell you otherwise. We hit quarterly targets. New projects came in. The two people who'd left were replaced by new hires with fresh notebooks, nervous smiles. Life at the office went on, unchanged by the private apocalypse I'd almost talked myself into. Some days I believed everything I'd been told. I'd walk home lighter, thinking maybe I really am safe here. Maybe things actually are okay. Other nights, I'd sit at my kitchen table with my bills spread out and remember how fast I'd accepted those 2 pages as the most truthful thing I'd ever seen. How completely I'd believed that the worst version of my future was the real one. They say the plan never existed. They say it was a spiteful print job by someone who'd already walked out the door. They say I'm valued and that my name is attached to better things than reduction candidate. Most days now I try and believe them. But when the office is quiet and a printer starts up somewhere down the hall, I still catch myself glancing toward the tray, half expecting to see my name waiting there again on some list. They told me the plan never existed. I know that. I just can't shake the feeling that, for some reason, I was meant to see my name. Sometimes we mistake our fear for the truth, because it feels safer to expect the worst than to hope for something solid. But not every shadow on the page means we're being erased, and not every doubt is a sign we're slipping. Most of the time, we just need a moment to remind ourselves that uncertainty isn't evidence, and maybe learning to leave that possibility open is its own kind of trust. Thank you for joining us.